Welcome to Satsunami. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of Satsunami. I'm Satsunami and today we are going to be talking about, before I go on, by we I mean myself and my good friend Adam. Thank you again for returning.
No, thank you so much for having me back again.
Yeah,
I must be doing something right if you keep inviting me back. So
yep.
third time's a charm if it keeps going.
Here's to many more episodes.
Unfortunately for you.
Yeah, if I had a cup or something, in my hand, I could just be like, "Here's to you."
We could have a virtual clink of the glasses.
Yeah, exactly. I really need a sound effect for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, today we are talking about something that I'm really excited to talk about, and I know you're really excited to talk about.
I am indeed.
A series that is very near and dear to our hearts in terms of the gaming world. That being, of course, Call of Duty, but not just Call of Duty. Today we're going to be kind of focusing in because over the last couple of months you might have seen, if you're in tune with the gaming news, that Call of Duty Cold War has just come out. And you might have seen myself streaming this game. It was a very interesting experience, but all in good time. We will definitely come to that, to discussing it. But before we go on to any of the games in particular, I'll let you start first, Adam. What was your first kind of exposure to Call of Duty to get into the series?
Yeah, so I didn't start with the very first Call of Duty. The first one that I played was one that was called, and I'll see if anybody remembers this one. It was called, I've forgotten the name now. It was on the original Xbox PS2, and it was
Was it Red 1?
Oh no, it wasn't Big Red. It was the one before. Oh, that's terrible. It's just gone out of my mind now. It was the one that was before Big Red. Oh no, I should have looked up before. Oh no, how embarrassing! My first flub. It's because it was made by this company only did this one version of it. And then they took the license away because it's not considered to be one of the best ones. But it was a World War II one, and it was on the original Xbox. And that was my finest hour. There we go. Call of Duty finest hour. Sorry,
yeah.
I was terrible. Call of Duty. That's how much of an impression it made on me. I can't even remember his name. But that was the first one I played, and I loved it. At the time, I really really enjoyed it. And so that was kind of when I was getting into I'd played Halo by that point and stuff, and I'd played I think some of the Medal of Honors. But this was when I was really getting into kind of first-person shooters, and especially World War II ones. So I really enjoyed that, and then from there, I got basically every other Call of Duty when it came out, year after year. I went back and played the original one. And I was every year I was on release day I was eagerly waiting. It was my favorite game series of all time. I couldn't wait for the next one and everything. And that was still the case when the Black Ops series started. So yeah, so I'm not quite there from the beginning, but about a year, I think it was a year in. I think it was 2004. So I think that was a year into the Call of Duty series. So I was quite near the beginning when I got into it.
Oh yeah, I have to admit, I was probably the same. You're honestly going to think very low of me for getting into.
I could never think low of you, of you.
No, it's just for all these FPS series like Halo and Call of Duty, I came into them very very late. Especially with Call of Duty. I think I played Call of Duty probably just a couple of years before I got into Halo. And yeah, it was Call of Duty 3 was the very first one I played on the PlayStation 2. And I remember being blown away by the graphics and being genuinely startled. In the very first level, you basically have to go into a house and there's this... one of the enemies anyway, pops out and grabs you. And I remember, being absolutely terrified. I was kind of oh my god! These graphics are so real! It's almost as if he's in my face. And it was definitely... how to put it? It was just... It really enamoured me. It put me, into the experience, Playing it back now, you're kind of oh, it's... It is like witch pixels, the allies and such. But like back then, it was really immersive, and you just thought, "Oh my god, there's bullets flying! Get down, get down!" So that was like my very first introduction into the series, and that's when I started getting into it. And after that, I didn't keep up with it. I played 3, then I set it aside. Then I kind of came back into it a couple of years later for Modern Warfare 2, I think. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And then I kind of did the machete approach where I backtracked to Modern Warfare 1. And
made your own chronology.
Pretty much, yeah. And then I think at that point, so it was about 2010. So I was looking this up before we started. 2010 was when the original Black Ops came out. So like 10 years ago. And if that doesn't make you feel old. I mean, I thought
that made me feel so old when I thought about that. I was like, my goodness.
Yeah, because I did. I looked at I was looking at the page, and I was like, no way, this can't be 10 years old. So that was probably about the same time, like I was kind of on the verge of leaving school. So it seems like it just seems weird thinking of it in that kind of way. Ugh, yeah, but it was. I mean, we might. I was going to say, because we've mentioned it now. Yeah, I can't remember if it was just like peer pressure or what it was. But, it's the same for all these kind of games, where it's like all your friends are getting them.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're like, oh, I want to be a cool kid. And it's like, yeah, let's buy Black Ops. And yeah, oh my god, it's like the most stereotypical gamer thing ever. Let's go together and buy Black Ops. And and that's when like they really put their all into like the adverts for Call of Duty back then. Oh my god, yeah, I just remember having a absolute blast though with Black Ops, because I think the first like after Call of Duty 3, the first one I really got into was like Modern Warfare 2 and everything, and that was one of the ones I first played online, and it was interesting, but I think the one I played the most was definitely Black Ops 1. That was the one that really solidified like my love of the franchise at the time. Then again, as I said, 10 years ago, so so yeah, I wouldn't have known any better. I mean, what about yourself though, Adam? Like, what got you into Black Ops? Like, was it just kind of a rolling thing, or like buying the next?
Oh
edition?
yeah. No, this was the height of my interest and like my love really of like the Call of Duty series was this like late 2000s, early 2010. So this was the one I remember because this was my first year at uni when this one came out.
Yeah.
And like I think I ordered it off Amazon or something. So like, and I vividly remember it arrived. Well, actually no, because I didn't think it was going to arrive actually on the release date, but it did. And I vividly remember because I had a politics essay due the next day, and like so I was like, right, this is my evening, right? Like I after like class, whatever, I came back to like I was in student halls at the time.
Yeah.
Came back to the halls and stuff, and I was just like, right, I'll chill out for a bit, get some dinner, then I was just gonna head back to the library, and just like crack out start writing my essay if I know me, start writing it, and then like finish it up the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
And then like one of my flatmates was like, oh, by the way, there's like a package downstairs. There used to be like kind of like mailbox thing downstairs, like package downstairs for you, and I was just like,
oh, I remember.
So I sprinted downstairs, got it, opened it. I was like, oh, I was so excited, and I was like, I didn't even care that it threw like all my plans in disarray, and I was like, well, this changes everything. So I was like, and this was the point where I was like, got it. I have to play like, I'm always like this with Call of Duty. I always got to play the campaign first before I jump into like multiplayer or anything like that. So I was like, right, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna play like this campaign. And I was like, right, I'll play just a bit of the campaign, then I'll like go off and do my essay. So like, so I started playing the campaign, and like I played about 3/4 of the campaign, and then it got to like about like 9 or like 10 in the evening. I was like, oh God, I actually have to go and write this essay now. So left, I was like, right, went off to the library, like went and did my essay, got back at about like 2 in the morning or just after 2 in the morning, and I was like, right, I'm just gonna finish off the campaign now. So I went and finished on the Black Ops campaign, and then I don't know, grabbed some fevered sleep. Right. But yeah, like I was just gonna say, just like so this was just the absolute like height, and like when I was just like really into the series. And I totally agree with you as well. This is probably the multiplayer I played the most of. I would say of any certainly like up there. And it was the one that it was the first one that I actually really got into the online multiplayer because I'd not really played much of it in the previous Call of Duties. I played a lot of like split screen multiplayer in Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
So I was at boarding school at the time and had the 360 and like that used to be like a favorite game. Playing that kind of split screen, but I'd never really touched the online multiplayer too much until this one, and so this really got me into it for like a good few years, like certainly anyway. So yeah, it holds like a special place in my heart. This one, it probably, looking at the series as a whole, it's probably still my favorite. I would say out of all the games, I still would rate this one the highest.
I've got to agree with you there, I have to say. For me especially, like, I remember just like going back to what I was saying about like Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 2, like I did play them online. I didn't have as many friends who had the games, so it meant that I couldn't really play, as much with them. Or if they did have the games, they didn't play it as much. But Black Ops seemed to be the one that was like everybody seemed to have, which is really weird.
Yeah.
And I think it was building off the popularity. So to give a bit of context to like people who might not be into the series, initially it was made by a company called Infinity Ward, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the original, yeah.
And then they ended up splintering off into two groups. So you had one group called Infinity Ward who ended up going on to make like the Modern Warfare series and a lot of the games. And then you had a second company that focused on the Black Ops series called Treyarch. And then like later on they had other companies that came in and made like other games, but don't worry, we're not going to like delve into that today. But yeah, it was like Activision had these two companies that were making games for them, and they seemed to, like, a lot of people, I don't know about you, but I think like a lot of people seem to favour Treyarch over Infinity Ward. Because Infinity Ward like had this kind of reputation of being like the old guard, because they developed a lot of the World War II games, then they went on to the Modern Warfare games, and the Modern Warfare games were really well received. But then Treyarch came in and they were just like, yeah, hold my dog tags, let me show you how it's done. And then they came in and they were just like so loud and bombastic, and they had like such good campaign. Well, they started off well, but we will get into that. So it was like this huge competition within the franchise. And I mean, like, before we go on to the actual game itself, or the Black Ops series, technically you could say that it was started off in Treyarch's first game, World at War.
Well, actually, as well, do you want to? It's actually, I was thinking it's a fun link because you said your first Call of Duty was Call of Duty 3, right?
Yeah.
That's actually Treyarch. That was actually Treyarch's first like main Call of Duty game.
Was
in
it?
the series? It was. Yeah, they'd done Big Red 1 before that, but that was like, that's considered like a spin-off as opposed to like an actual main series game. So they did 3 was the first one they did, but then as you say, like three kind of received like it was mostly well received, but it was more mixed reviews compared to. But yeah, as I'm sure you're going to talk about, World at War was like their first one that people were like, okay, kind of their real statement game.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard mixed things about 3. Like, I really enjoyed it at the time because it was my first game, but I remember going back and everybody was just like, oh, Call of Duty 3, oh, it's bad. Oh, have you noticed, like, I do the same voice for a lot of these straw men? Mr. Man, first time straw, going, oh, I don't like it. It seemed to be one of those ones, I think. Maybe because the other ones were better. I don't know. I haven't played the earlier ones, but you're right.
In my opinion, they're better.
Yeah.
But, it comes down to, like, at the end of the day, like, it's not a bad... Like, I played Call of Duty again recently. It's like, it's not a bad game. I don't think it's not one of the best in the series, but it's not like I think it suffered from a bit of rush development time, which is it's a little rough around the edges.
Yeah,
but
that's true. But, I mean, I always remembered, like, going back to World at War, just before we go into like the Black Ops series, I remember, of all things, I don't know why I remember this, but the first time I saw it was when I was at a university open day, And I
Really?
remember,
Wow.
yeah, there was a group of us, and we went to the uni, and we, did everything, and then a group of us just went into like the city to like look at, I think it was like the game shops and things.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember I was just looking around, and then I went over to someone who was playing this weird game, and I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's the new Call of Duty," and they were using, I can't remember what the gun's called, but it's the one that looks like the Starship Enterprise, and it's like you're the one it's in World at War where it's got like the big disc on top.
Oh, the Russian one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know.
yeah, it was that one, and I was kind of like, "What? That can't be a world, that can't be Call of Duty," and then turns out it was, and that was really well received. And I'm actually really surprised that Treyarch actually held on to like a couple of things from that game. Because usually, other than, like before the Black Ops series came along, it was more or less like single games. It was all focused on World War Two and everything, and then it ended up that the Modern Warfare series is when they started kind of going chronologically,
Yeah.
like with a extended story, to which I think Treyarch probably looked at that and went, two can play at this game.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that led to, first of all, they had just trying to think, yeah, it was World at War first,
Yeah.
and then it went on to, yeah, World at War, and then it went on to our topic of the day, which is the Black Ops series. And I have to admit, they didn't like bring everything over, but they brought two like specific characters over
They
from
brought
it.
the best thing over.
Ah, yeah, Gary Oldman is a Russian. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't beat that. He is actually one of the better parts of it. Like, trust me,
Oh,
guys. If you haven't played it, trust me, he is a very good character. But yeah, that leads us then on to Black Ops 1. So I'll let you kick off with this. Like, in a kind of brief summary, how would you describe, like, the first game? Not even, like, delving into the story or anything, like,
Oh,
more...
fine. I was
Yeah,
just thinking,
no,
like, oh
no,
my
no,
God, how am I
don't...
going to? Like, I think if I had to describe the story, I'd be like, maybe
Tell me.
what, like, if you locked like 13-year-old me in a room with like, I don't know, like
PowerPoint.
the Rambo trilogy, a PowerPoint, and like copious amounts of Red Bull
Yeah.
is probably
Oh
the
my
story
god.
that I'd come up with.
Oh,
Um, but
oh
like,
my god.
no, to describe the game, like, it is interesting. Like, and I totally agree. Like, it certainly borrowed, I think, a lot of things that the Modern Warfare series had started to do, like building a bigger universe and actually building, like, putting more of a focus on an actual story, and characters. Which the World War II games, for the most part, Call of Duty 3 did a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but the others, by and large, hadn't. You were like, yeah, you were given a name, but like your character was just there to win the war.
Yeah.
Whatever. There wasn't
No,
really like
that's true.
the war was like the story. It wasn't like an actual narrative
Yeah.
story that we're used to now in our Call of Duty games. So yeah, like, so definitely borrowing that, and actually, like, it's funny looking back at it because, like, I think this is maybe what happens when a series goes on for a long a kind of a span of time, and you get used to it and stuff, and you kind of actually forget like what it was like when you first saw it and stuff. And
Yeah.
I think, like, actually, when I was thinking back to when I first played Black Ops, like, I think I'm gonna have to talk about the story because I think it's such a
Yeah,
integral part
no,
of
go
Black
for
Ops
it.
for me. So sorry, I'm gonna deviate off from the ground rules that you've
Yeah.
laid for me.
No, go for it.
But like a proper Black Ops agent. But like, just the way the story's done and everything was so, like, I remember being really gripped by it. The fact that, like, you open up and, like, your character is, like, first of all, your character is talking, actually, like, which that might have been, I actually wonder if that was one of the first times that actually happened in a Call of Duty game. I can't think of a game before that had actually the character you play that was actually talking. So there we go. So that in itself was is a unique thing. It's obviously, used to it now, but that was a unique element. And just the way it opens up with the story, you're being interrogated and stuff, and you don't know what's happening. Your character doesn't know what's happening. And it's a really interesting way to then delve back and, you dive into, like, these different missions and stuff. And it feels very fitting with a kind of Cold War setting of, paranoia and, like, espionage and who do you trust and, everything. So, yeah, like, really, the more I think about it, it was a really, actually, say revolutionary is probably too strong a word, but it was certainly a big kind of shake-up. Obviously building off the Modern Warfare series. and stuff as well. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, just actually that freshness, I think, was really maybe what drew a lot of people to it. Why
Yeah.
it is probably so fondly remembered.
I totally agree with you. I think it was a nice change of pace. Like nowadays, there's this kind of like, I suppose Call of Duty's kind of memed on and joked about because they thought that the way to kind of go forward. I mean, the Cold War itself is like a natural progression,
Yeah,
both in like a historical sense and in the game franchise. Because at the stage like Call of Duty 3 came out, and even World at War, like a lot of World War Two shooter games were getting very old and tired,
yeah,
and no one really wanted to play that anymore. They were all
yeah.
kind of just like, yeah, what's the new thing, you know? And of course, initially, as I said, Infinity Ward brought in Modern Warfare, which was maybe like a bit of a leap over. So it was
Yeah,
kind of good to see Treyarch kind of rein that in and say, okay, we're not going to go that far. We're just going to go maybe to a bit more like closer history in terms of the Cold War. So
it's
go
nice that,
into,
as you say, they didn't just do like a carbon copy and just
yeah,
like
no,
go into the
absolutely.
modern age as well.
Because a lot of games, I think, at the time were just doing the same thing
Yeah,
with that. They were all just. Because that's what it seems like with the kind of COD franchise as a whole. And I won't go too like deep into it, but initially, of course, it was a World War Two game, which then evolved into a modern shooter, and of course the Cold War side by side. Then it became a futuristic shooter, and now it's kind of like flopping back and forth. So
yeah.
it's kind of having a bit of an identity crisis right now. But yeah, it was kind of nice to like gently ease, you know, players into the next evolution, I want to say. I don't want to sound too dramatic to be like, the next evolution of Call of Duty. And then, you know, if you want, you can buy your Doritos at www.satsunami.com and you get your double XP token. Honestly, like, oh, God. But yeah, like, even before, like, Dorito. I was going to call it Dorito Gate or something. But, you know, before all of that kind of advertising, it was like a nice easing into the next stage of the franchise. And I think Black Ops definitely, Black Ops, the first one, definitely reminds me of more of like a B movie. Like you were
Yeah.
saying Rambo earlier. That's kind of what it reminds me of. It reminds me of one of these films. So the kind of basic plot is, as you were explaining, Adam. Basically, it's about it's about a CIA agent or a Black Ops agent, roll credits, that ends up getting interrogated, and it flashes back to missions that he was on, and they're basically trying to stop this chemical weapon called Nova 6 being set off by the Russians. Really, really like. I mean, it's definitely more of an action film that you would see in the
Yeah.
80s. But that's the entertaining thing. It's so like you're supposed to be Black Ops, you're supposed to be covert, undercover. You're supposed to be, you know, sneaking in. No, 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 no. You just you just
Not for these
blow.
boys.
Like there's literally a mission where you have to sneak into a Soviet base, and then like 2 seconds later, you blow up a missile that's like
Yeah.
like a massive missile, and you're like, yeah, Black Ops. Hoorah!
Deniability.
Hoorah! It's so silly and over the top, but that's what I love about it. I think it's just so. Oh, there's such an enjoyment, and I think I was talking to someone else about this earlier, but I think that's what. Oh, sorry. Before I go on, there are going to be spoilers for these games, so we are going to be talking about the original trilogy and such, and we're also going to be talking about Cold War. So just a heads up, we'll let you know like when we're about to kind of spoil, but just in case, but you probably played it because it's 10 years old. But
Go on,
just in
play it by
case.
now.
So yeah, it's like yeah, I was talking to someone else about it, and I was telling them about like how it makes the twist in the game all that more satisfying. So basically, throughout the game, you're haunted by a guy called Victor. Or not haunted, but you keep bumping into a Russian called Victor Reznov, played by Gary Oldman, of course, and he ends up like helping you along. And he's like a recurring character from World at War, so that's like where the link is. And it was really interesting them bringing him back to establish some kind of continuity. But yeah, you get through the game, and he's always popping up in really random places. And then it turns out, you know, it's Sixth Sense tier, where it's like he was a ghost the entire time. But it's not like literally a ghost, but he's been, you know, he's just like a hallucination from
Like implanted into your mind.
Yeah, and the main character Mason thinks that, you know, this guy has been here the entire time and he's not. And that's what kind of, I think, separates it from a lot of Call of Duty games with like weird twists and things. Because it's like, it plays, it knows what it is. It's like a 80s action film with the evil Soviet Union who are about to like blow up this chemical weapon unless the good guys can stop. You know, it's like, it's that over the top. And then when you get that twist, you're like, oh, shit. I did not see that coming. Good going, Gary Oldman.
It really gets you the first time.
Yeah.
It's actually surprising.
Like the first time you play it, you're just like, oh my god, that was... And it is, it's like, it's something you didn't expect.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that definitely kind of leads us into like our first, like just to kind of recap about the Black Ops series. Like, what would you say is some of your favourite moments in the first campaign?
I mean, I definitely, in the campaign itself, like, definitely that moment when it got revealed, like, the twist gets revealed, that was a big thing. Like, in fairness, I was very sleep deprived at that point as well, as I said, but, like, still, like, I was being like, wow, it made me really want to replay it, and it's actually, remember replaying the campaign, and you get all those moments where, like, you don't, I didn't really pay attention to the first time, I don't know if you did, but as you say, like, Reznov keeps showing up at points, and you keep talking to him, and he talks to you. But it's only that you don't actually realize that no other character like converses with him, and like often at points, like you know, Mason will say something, Reznov, and then people will be like, "What the hell are you saying?" Like, you know, like, come on, what are you doing? And like, there's one bit in the tunnel. I do remember that level in the tunnels where like Reznov drops in, and then like Mason starts talking to him, and the guy in front of you is like, "What the f are you doing?" Like, you know, come on, you're head in the game, and stuff like that. Just didn't like.
Yeah,
I didn't pick up that at all the first time, but going back, you're like, oh, it's actually really clever.
Yeah,
so that definitely is standout.
Because there's like, just following up from what you were saying, there is another scene like that where what is it? It's like you have to go to Vietnam for a couple of missions, and you end up coming across. Well, you have to look for the Russian defector. That's going to give you all the information, and then plot twist. Oh, it's Reznov, and he's going to give you all the information. And you kind of play it, and you're like, "Oh, right, okay, that's a bit contrived, but okay, fair enough." And then it turns out, like when you go back to play it, that the defector, and you can actually see his body.
Yeah,
he was actually killed because the like building that you're in was assaulted. So the body's there, like he's been shot and he's dead, but because Reznov comes out of the blue, you're like, oh, okay.
You pay no attention to it, really.
So it's really interesting in that regard. It's, oh man, I do adore this game. I think it's so good.
I think it hits that perfect balance as well of like, this was as the Call of Duty series was beginning to ramp up. And like, you know, it was becoming very much kind of like, as you say, kind of action movie, like very action movie-esque, sort of almost Michael kind of like a Michael Bay film almost, but in a good sort of way. And there's a lot of like really big set pieces in this, but it was at that point, certainly I felt this way, it was at that point where like I was really excited and I really liked those set pieces and I really enjoyed playing them, whereas now you feel like you've seen so many of them, and it's just, it almost feels like, oh, it's contrived now. But it was at that point where like, you know, all these things like the helicopters crashing and like, you know, assault buildings and like, as you say, blowing Russian spacecraft out of the air and everything like that. It was really, I remember being really absolutely like exhilarated playing it and stuff, really loving all that kind of like bombast and everything. So it was at that perfect moment for that, like, you know, before our I can't think of the word, but before we kind of tired of it and our kind of cynicism set in about it.
Because I mean, that was definitely the height. I think Black Ops came out about the same time as like the Modern Warfare series, so it was kind of like it was sandwiched between Modern Warfare 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So it was like that perfect balance of when Call of Duty was at its peak. And I have to admit, I do agree with you. I think the set pieces, like even the bad ones, I'm gonna admit this now. Even the bad ones had excellent set pieces. Or not excellent, but decent ones that you kind of remember. I mean, a few of my favourites have to be. Well, there's one where you have to break out of basically a Russian gulag.
Oh, that's such a good level, isn't it?
So yeah, you have to escape from a place called, is it Vorkuta?
Vorkuta,
yeah. And yeah, it's like you have to go and do this massive jailbreak, and it's just so, again, it's so over the top. Something that would not look out of place in an 80s action film.
Yeah.
So good. There's a Nova 6 flashback where you find out how the Russians got their hands on Nova 6. Really, or not the Russians, the Soviet Union, sorry. You've got like a mission where you're in a hazmat suit and the whole place is covered in like Nova 6, so you have to have a hazmat suit on, and if you get shot too many times, like usually in Call of Duty, you get shot, you hide, and then you're healed and you go away. If you get shot in this level, then all the cracks start appearing in your suit, and obviously if you get shot too much, then your suit's going to break and all the chemical agent just goes into your body. I thought that was a really cool idea for that level.
Really good idea.
It was, oh, honestly, I could not, like, praise this game enough.
It's so good. It's funny, just you saying that, and just thinking about that, what's great about that prison escape level as well is the way it's structured. I don't know if you remember, but, like, so at the beginning, like, as you're, like, starting the level, like, Reznov, like, this is when Reznov was alive as well, so it's actually alive Reznov. And he says the different steps of the plan and everything. Everybody's like, he's like, step one, and everybody like says, different things. And if you like, and that's the whole way the mission is structured. And that's, if you look at your mission objective list, it's like step one, step two, whatever, and it's got the things, and it's the way it's all. And you never quite know. It's great as well because you never quite know. There's one bit that I remember where it's like, I think it's step 4 or something. It's like skewer the winged beast, and you don't know what that is. And then it's like you get that shotgun with the grappling hook in it, and you fire it to take down the helicopter and things. And there's just like there's a great ones like rain, fire, and stuff that you. So it's a great way of building anticipation, I think, for what you're going to do as the level ramps up. But not telling you like go get shotgun with grappling hook to shoot down helicopter. That like kind of spoils it. So it's actually like I think quite a really clever way of like actually designing a level.
Yeah, it was definitely immersive. I will give it that. It was so immersive. It wasn't just like, I don't know, like I'm not going to compare it like to the other ones too much, but it was, as you said, like instead of saying go to point B and shoot down the helicopter, it's like skewer the winged beast and do this and that, and it really drew you into the story, which is really weird because I actually don't remember the last time I've actually praised a Call of Duty game as much. Because usually I'm kind because like I mean I've been hurt before, what can I say? So I'm like I was kind of like reserved about praising it, but no, I can't like not praise Black Ops. I mean, it was like, not only am I kind of biased because it's a game I grew up with, but it was just such an impactful entry into the series. And as we were saying, there's just so many memorable moments. But that actually, and I know this is where, so like after the height of Black Ops, in both like media and gaming circles and things, then Modern Warfare 3 came out, and this is when, like, just for context, this is when the series kind of started hitting Call of Duty fatigue, because it was the same as like the FIFA games where they were like bringing one out like every year. So people were kind of getting tired of having to upgrade every year. Like, it's the same with any annual franchise like Pokemon or, those kind of games, or as I said, FIFA and such. So after Modern Warfare 2, the next Call of Duty game that came out in 2012 actually was Black Ops 2. And I know you have an opinion about this.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to? Yeah. Do
you want me to summarize it first?
You summarize it first. I think it's probably better. You give a kind of.
Okay, so basically, the second game. I just realised because you summarised the first one, I'm summarised the second one, and then I'm leaving the worst one to you.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Well,
you played this very well. You played this very well. Well played. You're playing three-dimensional chess here.
I'm playing the Black Ops game. I paid attention. So yeah, we'll get to like the third game. So say a prayer in the background as we get to that. But the second game is pretty much a direct sequel. And this is where Call of Duty started dipping its toe into other kind of genres of shooters. So initially the first one, all about the Cold War. You had like the Vietnam War, you had all like the Bay of Pigs invasion, you had like all these like significant events during the Cold War. But there was a lot kind of missed out. And then when the second game came out, I remember it was like advertised. Like this is when Call of Duty was like really cool with everyone. Like I know that sounds weird saying, but I remember like prominent kind of YouTubers advertising this game. Like
Yeah.
ones who, you know, like gamers and people who had like kind of related. I remember there was a guy, I don't know if you remember this one. I think his name was like FPS Russia or something. It was like a guy who used to like he wasn't a gamer. I think he just used to shoot guns on YouTube and be like, "Oh look, you know, quirky me." But he was like in it, and at the time he was like one of the bigger stars and things on YouTube. And honestly, it was like they had everybody coming in to advertise this game. Everybody loved it. And the weird thing about it is, as I said, they dipped their toes into different genres. So half of the game is following up from the story of Alex Mason, the protagonist of the first game, trying to like hunt down this Nicaraguan drug smuggler. And then the other half is playing as his son in the future. So half of the game is your traditional boots on the ground Call of Duty, you're playing through the Cold War, and then the other half is like a futuristic shooter, which I know at the time was quite divisive, but I have heard a lot of praise for it. I have to admit though, like, I had like a weird exposure to it, because I think when Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 3 came out, I was kind of getting tired of the franchise, so I didn't pick up Black Ops 2 right away. But I saw people play it, and funny enough, I didn't have, how do I put this? I didn't have like my Xbox at uni because, you know, like, you know that old excuse, oh, I don't want to be distracted, and then you end up just getting bored anyway. So I ended up downloading it on Steam instead and playing it on the PC. You know, when there's a will, there's a Call of Duty game for it. And I really enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first one, but I really enjoyed like what they did. It was different, for sure, but I didn't like so basically, as I said, it's like on the one hand you're trying to, in fact it kind of overarcs and it overlaps with one another, but you're just trying to find this guy called Menendez who's trying to bring down the US, both like in the past and in the future and everything. Really kind of well done for what it was. But then they did a thing where, do you remember what they were called? It was like the side missions you had to
Strike
do.
Force missions.
Or
yeah. as I wrote down, I was writing notes down for this podcast.
Yeah.
So under the Black Ops 2 heading, I wrote down Strike Force missions.
Oh my god. ...
That's my reaction.
Yeah. Strike Force missions were the worst. Basically, Strike Force missions were like, they were like tower defense modes, where you had an objective, you had to carry it out, like you had to defend a base for so long, you had to escort another like troop carrier or something, you know, it was like, it was really weird missions, and literally, see, the only payoff is like a PNG, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's like either a PNG of like saying, China joined the fight with America, or
yeah,
or like
a country would flash up a different color in a map.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. It was like Risk, but with none of the risk. It was
having to roll all the dice.
Oh, it was it didn't feel like the effort was worth it, if you know what I mean. It just seemed like, I mean, the rest of the game I really enjoyed personally, but sorry, I've been like rambling too much. Like
no, like go for it.
No, but like, what were your opinions on it? Like
No,
both.
I don't know. Both on everything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wrote down this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't actually know if it is. Like, 'cause maybe so much time has passed now that this really isn't a controversial opinion.
It's okay. You're in a safe space.
I'm in a safe space here. Don't hate me. This is my least favorite game in the series.
What, of the Black Ops series?
Of the Black Ops series, this is my least. This is my least favorite of the Black Ops series, and it's very close to being my least favorite of all the Call of Duty games. I think it's down the bottom. I don't like this. I'm not a fan of this game.
Okay.
Like, and I am definitely minority here because this game I think did review very well at the time, and I think it's still I think would appear in a lot of people, close to a lot of people's like favorites. Call of Duty, especially the multiplayer was absolutely. I think a lot of people view that as like the best Call of Duty multiplayer has been. But so like, and the multiplayer was good. I can't really remember too much about it. Like I have to admit, so I won't talk too much about that.
Yeah.
I'll talk more about it. And what for me did it is it's the campaign. Like I'm sorry, like the Strike Force missions. Like Call of Duty's done a lot of things that maybe are morally questionable, ethically questionable, and stuff in terms of what they've depicted in campaigns. The Strike Force missions are the worst thing that's ever been done in the Call of Duty game. I can't think of anything worse. Take all the ethical dilemmas and moral things, but Strike Force missions are awful. Worst thing that's ever been put into them. I find the story confusing. Like I've played it again recently, and like I think it's the way the story is told. I'm just like I feel it's done in like a kind of way, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, why is this happening? Like there's a point where again can I go into spoiler territory?
No, go for it.
Yeah. There's a point. So basically, it turns out that basically like the main character, Alex Mason's son, David Mason, has like met Menendez before. And like Menendez is like responsible for the death of Alex Mason, his father. And like there's just one point where he just remembers he's just like having a boxing match. Then all of a sudden he gets punched in the face. He's like, "Oh my god, I met Menendez!" And okay, these games are B movies. We've established that these games are B movies. But this for me was a point where it was going. I was like, "This is just dumb." Like, and I was just like, "This is just ridiculous." And like all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, now I remember everything." And like as well, like they took the character of Hudson from the first game, who like Hudson was one of my favorite characters in the first game, so I thought he was just like he was such a damn cool like badass and stuff. And they completely like changed him and made him this really like duplicitous character and everything, and then he betrays them at the end, and I'm still not entirely sure why. So I just found the story confusing, and I didn't like the shift into future gameplay. This for me was where the Call of Duty fatigue hit, and it was when I realized that like I wasn't a fan of the futuristic gameplay. And in fairness, like compared to what's come since, like the gameplay is still actually like as much as there's like futuristic elements, it's still pretty grounded, and everything. Like it's nothing. Nobody was double jumping and like wall running and everything at this point yet. Granted, it's not that, but I remember at the time being disappointed when I heard that because I much prefer it when it was in a historical setting or like at least a modern day setting. I'll give the game some praise. Like there were some interesting changes they made to it, and I think having a branching storyline is an interesting idea. I don't think it doesn't quite work. I don't think because like I don't know. I don't think it quite works, but it's an interesting idea at least. And I like the fact that they put some things in. The levels felt a bit more open and stuff, and they had that you could kind of choose your loadout, which was quite cool. And you could take in like different perks and stuff and equipment, and you get that thing like an access kit that would like open up different options for you. That was quite a cool idea, and I think it'd be cool if they brought. I don't think they've kind of brought that back in again, but that would be a nice idea. And that was the first game as well for the multiplayer that brought in the kind of pick 10 system, which I think is that still what they use now? Or have they changed it where you had 10 different like slots and you could kind of customize your loadout to that level? This was the first one to do it, which I think was actually quite a good and interesting system for the multiplayer. But I don't know. There's something about this game. Like I've played it like. I played it fairly recently. I was kind of going back through the Call of Duties again. And it's just this one that I just don't like. I don't like the levels. I find the story just annoying, and like there's something about it that I don't even know if I can fully put my finger on it. But there's something about this game that I just don't like, and I just don't have a desire. I get a desire to go back and play some of the other Call of Duties, but this is one of them I don't get that desire.
So I take it.
So yeah, not a fan.
I was just going to say, I take it would be a wasted question to ask you what your favourite moment was.
Well, we can because I'll talk. We can talk about that because like it's not a bad game. Let me say, I've just kind of crapped on it a bit, but it's not a bad game. Like, and I fully admit I'm in the minority here. Like, and it's a serviceable game. Like, it plays fine. It's it's not a piece of garbage or anything. I just don't like what they did with it.
Yeah.
If I was picking like moments, like I think actually, my favorite moments of this game are the lawsuits that that famous people put against it. So there's two. I knew about one of them. I just found out about a second one here. So Manuel Noriega, if people know who Manuel Noriega is.
Yeah, I know
Famous
this. Yeah.
dictator of Panama, who was like removed in a basically American military intervention, removed him in 1990, I think.
Yeah.
He's appeared in the game as like he's quite an important character, and he sued Activision because for like using his likeness and the fact that he didn't like his depiction, like kind of personally for like slander. So he sued them. He sued them for that, which he lost. And then also, I just found out that the family members of there's a guy called Jonas Savimbi who appears in the first mission. He was quite a controversial, I'll say African warlord during the Angolan Civil War, who led one of the factions who's quite a notorious reputation for a lot of bad things. So like some of his family members sued Activision for his portrayal, which to be honest, I think actually, that's actually probably one of the nicest portrayals Jonas Savimbi will get.
Yeah,
I think in like anything. So, but they apparently didn't like it, so they sued Activision for it. So, I think my favorite moments are those two.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm kind of confused about that. Well, like Noriega, I can totally understand. They did not portray him in a nice light, but I mean,
he wasn't a nice guy, I think, to be honest.
I mean, you end up getting rescued by.
He's like buddy. Like,
it's like, but yeah.
They say he was portrayed as a barbarian, so maybe it's more like he just portrayed as this kind of like warlord. They're going to argue there's like both sides. So maybe there was. I mean, I don't know that much about the guy. Just know some stuff. That's kind of their thing. But I think for an actual moment in the game, there's quite a cool level on that kind of like that kind of really fancy holiday resort in the Cayman Islands or something.
I like
where you've got like the kind of watches and like the adverts as you go by change to like put your face into it. That was quite a cool concept.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen in the future.
Yeah,
it's not a matter of if, it's like a matter of when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
that was a cool moment. Some of the wingsuit bit actually is quite cool. The wingsuit bit, I think, is in the first futuristic mission.
Yeah,
like that's quite cool. Like doing that bit. So I'll pick those moments.
Yeah, I have to admit,
there's not as many I can find.
Yeah, I would have to say between that. So what I've got, weirdly enough, what I've got written down is probably the same as you. The island, I've just written island, which that resort, I like that mission a lot. And this is actually what I've written. I wrote down any Cold War moments. Because I thought all the Cold War moments that they focus on, so it's like there's scenes where they take them to, I mean, there's Afghanistan. Was it Paraguay they go to?
They go to Nicaragua.
They go to Nicaragua as well, but towards the end, I mean,
Panama as well. They go to Panama.
Sorry, not Paraguay, Panama. Sorry,
and Angola before.
And Angola, yeah. So I like those moments because, again, it was almost reminding you, it was giving you a bit of a taste for the last game.
Yeah.
So I liked it in the way that it kind of anchored itself in a way that it was still a continual story. Even with the futuristic stuff, at least you could tell it was in the same universe. Unlike a certain other game, which, brings us to, oh my god. So I don't even know how to start this.
Will I jump in and try and start it?
Yeah, I was just gonna before you do, and trust me, I'll give you a couple of seconds to prepare yourself. But after Black Ops 2, there was a kind of shift towards more futuristic games. So it started kind of easy with Call of Duty Ghosts and Advanced Warfare. So these were the kind of two games that they weren't modern shooters, but they weren't futuristic either. They were in this kind of weird limbo of, I heard once that the Americans have this kind of weapon. Let's center a game around it. For Ghosts. And for Advanced Warfare as well, it's it was all to do with prosthetics and the military complex and all of that. And yeah, it was things that were semi-realistic. Things that could happen, essentially. Things that could happen, but weren't too far that they couldn't. And then Black Ops 3 dropped, and I'm going to hand it over to you, because I have watched several videos explaining the plot of Black Ops 3, and I'm still getting my head around it. Like, I played through the full game. I've watched several videos of guys going, "What's up, guys? Today we're going to be explaining all the tidbits of Black Ops 3." And then by the end of that, like, half an hour, I feel as if I've wasted my time, because I'm like, I still don't understand. But sorry, over to you.
I'm laughing and I'm crying because I have no idea how to do this. I don't know. Right, anyway, I'll give it my best shot, right? Okay, so I'll try and summarize the plot.
You don't even have to summarize the plot. Just
I talk about that's a fair point. Maybe I should talk more about the game. So it's basically it's set 40 years. It's set 40 years after the end of Black Ops 2. So it's 2065, and basically the world has been like divided into this like third. They call it a third Cold War, because technically the Black Ops 2 is the second Cold War with futuristic stuff. But this third Cold War between these two sides, and basically like they're so advanced. The sides are so like advanced with defensive kind of weaponry and stuff. The only real way that like war can happen is with these kind of like more small scale like Black Ops covert missions. So that's kind of what it centers on, and that's like your character is part of that. It's all these kind of missions undertaken, and it plays a lot with different themes of like, because all these soldiers are, for the most part, are like cybernetically augmented as well, and they've got kind of like robot limbs, and they've got what's called DNIs, which are implanted in their mind, like help them better in combat and everything. And the story kind of goes with those themes of like, I'm trying to think, I don't even know how I describe the themes, but it's a lot of cerebral kind of I guess free will, it's almost Matrixy in a way, free kind of ideas of free will, and I guess choice maybe is a thing as well. Like, I'm really strong. I'm sorry, I'm doing an absolutely terrible job of fixing.
Do you know what it reminds me of, genuinely? I'm not saying like against you, I just mean the game in general. It reminds me of, you would get that one book in English class, and it was so like over the top and confusing. You would do your best to try and explain the themes. And you would be like, the blue curtains, they were the symbolize sadness. You do know that was like in the first couple of sentences of the book. Yeah, I know. Because
that's about all I could go into this.
Oh my god. So as I said, like, I watched so many videos trying to think what is like a concise summary, and I think you definitely summed it up of it's like a third Cold War and everything. But it basically follows at the very beginning, you're tasked with finding in fact, before I go on, Adam, do you remember the name of the main character in Black Ops 3?
Oh, it's just Player, isn't it? Isn't that the name?
Yeah, they literally just call you Player. They don't like say it out loud, but in the subtitles, they just call you Player. You've not got a name, you've not got an identity, you are just rubbery player, man or woman. You could actually choose. And that was another thing. They're like, oh, it's the first Call of Duty game you can play. In fact, no, that's not true. I think you can play as a woman.
Finest hour, the first one I had as a woman in the campaign.
But yeah, it was like they made a huge deal about like that as well and everything. And it's like, well, that would be good if the game made any sense. Like, I'm still struggling. Like, so yeah, basically in the first mission, you have to rescue this. I think it's like the Egyptian. Like an Egyptian minister, you have to rescue.
I've got the Wikipedia up here, so I'll oh god, it doesn't even tell you. It just says rescue hostages. Yeah, there you go.
So it's like you rescue him, and it ends up you you do literally get RoboCopped, because this robot, it made me uncomfortable considering like what goes on in the Black Ops series. This was like the only scene that I did genuinely like wince at and go, ooh, that's nasty. Because basically you get beaten down by a robot and you think, right, that's fine. Well, not fine, but you know what I mean. It's gonna like fade to black or something. But no, you get your arms ripped off, you get your legs ripped off, and then the game has the cheek to like rescue you at the last second, and the guy turns around to you as if you've just been like shot in the leg or something. He goes, "Come on, you're gonna be fine." It's like he's been amputated. It's just it's just like it is shocking the level of, I don't even know, like between pretentiousness and just downright confusing. Like at worst it's pretentious, at least it's just downright confusing because I honestly like, so apparently the subtext of the game is like at the very beginning they hide like information in like the scrolling text in the background, and yeah, spoilers here, but basically they tell you that you have died, but you still play the game as this player. And to make matters worse, something I didn't realise, apparently all the levels that you play are out of order.
Yep.
So it's not even telling a coherent story there. So it's like the last couple of missions are meant to be at the beginning and like the first level's at the end or something. I'm completely lost when it comes to it because I do not understand it whatsoever. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. Like, I will admit, I did have fun playing it, I suppose, but that was about it. Like, at the very end, you're, so as you were saying, Adam, all the soldiers have a thing called DNIs in them, and I think it's like a direct neural interface. They call it,
Well done.
they beef it up.
You got that straight off.
Yeah, no, I watched the video before coming on. It's not-
I should have done that.
Oh, that's the only thing I remember from that video. But yeah, it's like at the very end, basically you're trying to like bring in these rogue agents who have all these DNIs, and like they can, basically it means they can control like, like robots and things like that. It's basically an excuse for the gameplay. They've got robotic limbs, you've got powers over robots, it's that's it. It's just a gameplay excuse. But the thing, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but the thing that I hate most, and this is the thing that's a huge slap in the face, more so than Black Ops 4, which, and we'll kind of briefly touch on it, but the worst thing for me is the fact that it's not a Black Ops game. I'm gonna call it outright. It is not a Black Ops game. For me, anyway. I think that the only reason they put the Black Ops name on it is for the marketing. I think that's the only reason they did it. And there's only two references to the past games. There is a reference to Nova 6, which is the chemical weapon gas, and there's a reference to Raul Menendez, who's the villain from the second game, and that's literally like a cutscene, like blink and you'll miss it. I mean, at least like, although as divisive as the second game is, at least it had some connection to the first one. It had the same characters and everything. It had some kind of progression. But with the third one, it was just like, oh yeah, we're totally related to that. Look, Nova 6. And you're like, why would you still have that around? Like, oh, I don't know.
Got robots now.
Oh yeah, we've got robots which we're going to use the assets from for other games. It's just, I mean, yeah. That's sorry. I know I went off on like a personal rant.
No.
there.
Well, I mean, I had my rant before about Black Ops 2. So it's only fair you get your chance to.
Yeah, no, I just think that's, as I said, I think it's a fun game. Story-wise, it is completely broken. It is one of the messiest, probably one of my least favourite stories. And that's coming in with Ghosts as well, because, again, we'll touch on that in another day, but...
That's for another time.
Yeah, that is for another time, because I won't go off on another rant, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of Call of Duty Ghosts. But I would prefer to play that, because at least I remember laughing at it, than playing through the end to... I mean, that's the other thing. Like, at the very end, you go through, like, this Matrix kind of world where you link up with someone, and then you're shooting zombies, and then you're shooting Nazis, and then you're shooting... It's just a mess. It's an utter, complete mess of a story. And as I said, gameplay-wise, it's fun. I can't fault it for that, but... Yeah, in terms of everything else, nah. So in other words, nah, not great. It was just so disappointing, because I think Black Ops 3 came out in 2015. That's 3 years, like, you had to wait between Black Ops 2 and 3. And between that we had Ghost and Advanced Warfare, which whether like you like them or not, I think they were received kind of mediocre at the time, like
Most
lukewarm.
certainly. Well, Advanced Warfare, I think, was received quite well.
Was
I
it?
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people quite liked it. At the time. Ghost was certainly, I think, lukewarm
Yeah.
at
Oh
best.
yeah. But I don't know. It's just such a disappointment. Like we were waiting so long for another Call of Duty game, and then that's what they bring out. And you're like I love sci-fi. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge bloody nerd. I would be all in for that. But when it comes to a Black Ops game, nah, this ain't it. Definitely. Which then kind of briefly. Now I mean, I'm probably safe in saying this for you as well, but we haven't really played any of like Black Ops 4, have we?
Yeah, yeah. No, well, I've
Like,
certainly not played. I've not
no,
played.
I'm the same. And the reason is because I think we're like a small minority of people who we're a small minority of people who play the campaigns in Call of Duty. Because I know a lot of people, like especially nowadays with Warzone and things, they'll just jump straight into the multiplayer. They won't play the campaign. So, like when I heard, oh, there's not going to be a campaign, I didn't bother with it. And the fact it was a
Same with
battle
me.
royale, yeah, it was just it wasn't my cup of tea personally. I know people who have enjoyed it, they've loved it,
I
but
think I think for a pure multiplayer experience, I hear it's like very good multiplayer because which you'd expect because they put so much like focus into it. So I do think in that way, for a
yeah,
multiplayer shooter, it probably is like really good. But
yeah,
and it seems like they made some interesting changes to it. But I'm with you on that one. Like
yeah,
I was out the minute I said no. I was sort of out buying Call of Duty games on release anyway.
yeah.
And by this point, I'd just been burnt by World War II the year before. I'd kind of got back into it, but like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I wasn't. Yeah, which again, that's for
yeah,
another
definitely.
podcast. We want to talk about that one,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So I had no interest in playing it.
Yeah. Which then brings us back to I don't know whether it's optimistic to say that it might be reigniting our kind of interest because I mean like at the start of the lockdown like I didn't really have much of an interest towards Call of Duty as much. I played through some of the older ones, to kind of rekindle that that long lost happiness that I'm looking for. But I never really played any of the new ones until then. Like you and I and Stephen as well. Like some of our friends just got into Modern Warfare, playing it online,
Yeah,
which again is like another thing. And then the year after, in this glorious year of 2020, they announced that Call of Duty was going back to grassroots and it was going to go back to the Cold War. And there was no futuristic stuff. There was nothing like that. Um, and yeah, it was really interesting that they were gonna go back to just purely Cold War stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of worried because this is the game I've played recently. Like I played the campaign. Multiplayer's great. Like I'm just gonna throw that out. Multiplayer's a lot of fun.
yeah.
But and I can't comment on the zombies as well. But we're
We'll
probably
get
gonna,
around to that.
yeah, we will. We're gonna try and play it together. But for the
You played some Warzone as well, haven't you? So
yeah, Warzone's fun. It's a Stockholm syndrome mode. It's one of those modes that you have to play more of it to enjoy it, which is something I normally wouldn't recommend, but genuinely for this one, definitely. But for the campaign, like I'm gonna turn it over to you like first because I know you're really into or not into, but you were really excited about this, like to talk about it. So yeah, what were your like thoughts? See for the campaign for
yeah,
Cold War.
yeah.
What did
So
you think?
again, like we're going spoiler territory here. So
Yeah,
like,
spoilers.
just your another warning.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I really enjoyed like large parts of this campaign. And I really liked some of the new kind of elements they brought into it. Like I really liked and it's very like it's very surface level and it's not
Oh yeah.
customization in the slightest. But I really enjoyed the ability to be able to kind of customize your character and like give them a name and a backstory, and then put in some like perks. And you could kind of choose the perks, and it was kind of related to like psychological traits, which I thought was
Yeah.
quite cool. I kind of enjoyed as well. They put a bit more of a focus on stealth. Again, this is still an action game. Plenty of action set pieces, plenty of gunfights. But I felt like there was a slightly bigger focus on stealth, which, being a Black Ops, that's kind of maybe what you'd first think hearing Black Ops. You think like, deniability and things like that. So it was nice that they brought a bit of that kind of focus back to it. I also really, really enjoyed like the kind of puzzle elements to the side missions that they had. I thought that was a really kind of cool, actually making you think in a Call of Duty game, like having to actually like use your brain and work things out. I thought was really actually good. And I do hope, like, for me personally, maybe you disagree with me, but I really hope they bring that back, and I really hope they actually kind of carry that up, because I thought it was a really cool element to it. Some really, really good missions in there as well. Like I really enjoyed the one in East Berlin, like the one in the KGB headquarters. And I love the kind of Vietnam, I called it Vietnam Mind Palace level near the end where you did everything. That was kind of cool. I was like, that's kind of cool, trippy kind of level to do. So lots to really, really like there. And then the ending is what I really wanted to talk about. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say before we kind of dive into the ending, or
like
get stuck into it. Or...
just before like we go into like full like spoilers.
Yeah.
I honestly have mixed feelings about Cold War. Don't get me wrong. Like I think, how to even put this? Like the first one is always going to be my favorite. 2, I didn't think was good as good as the first one, but it was still enjoyable enough. 3, as I've said, utter abomination. Let's not go there again. 4, never played. 5, Cold War rather. The thing that kind of put me off the campaign was it almost felt as if they were so close. Like I feel as if, see if they focused on the new characters more.
Yeah.
Like if they had Adler and Sims and Laser and all the cool. I'm blanking on who the other
Arcs.
Yeah. If they had more focus on them and to develop them, which you might be thinking, oh, it's a Call of Duty game, you just point and shoot. But you can tell they were trying to go for something deeper here, because they had the like dialogue tree, and things which really threw me off. I was really surprised when I first saw that, and I was like, oh, sorry. It was like I'm streaming it, and I was like, oh, sorry, chat. I've clearly put in Fallout 4 instead.
I only speak in bullets in a Call of Duty game. I don't speak with words.
Yeah, exactly. It's because I'm so used to just jumping in a game and being like, oh yeah, pew pew pew, which is really weird for me to say, because usually that's not like that's not who I am.
That's not what I'm like, man.
Because usually I love like a game with a good story that you can get just immersed in, but in Call of Duty or in it's got so many titles. It's like in Call of Duty, Black Ops,
a bit too many.
Yeah, Cold
War.
War.
A bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. So in Cold War, it felt as if there was a lot that was kind of stunting the action. Like, say what you will about, like, Black Ops 1, like, saying, oh, they're supposed to be Black Ops, but, they're blowing up things all over the place. At least it was fun and fast-paced. And even for the second game, it was fun, it was fast-paced, it was, well, except for the Strike Force missions, but we won't get back into that.
Don't bring me back there, man. No. It's like Vietnam flashbacks for me. Like, no, man, don't make me go back.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, for the third, for Cold War, I just felt as if they were like bits of a different game. Do you know what it reminds me of? See, you were saying about stealth earlier, about like the emphasis on stealth. One of the things I found interesting was I drew a lot of parallels between that and. Did you ever play the campaign for Battlefield 1?
Yeah.
They had a very similar. Do you remember the tank level?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. So basically, like, in that level, you have to sneak into, like, a encampment, and there's, like, a stealth system that they did, and it's very similar. It's like a wee meter that fills up, and then, if they notice you, then it's going to, like, beep off, and they'll start shooting at you. But it was kind of similar to that. But I almost felt as if there was no consequences. If you know what, like, I mean, you can see it on the stream, but I did bugger up royally so in East Berlin. let's get that clear. East Berlin.
Timberland, right?
Yeah, I buggered up royally in that mission because I can't even remember what I did, but I hid, and then there was like literally nowhere to go. So I like had to shoot my way out, and I just walked into the building, and the guy was like, "Oh, you were too loud," and it's like, well, you know what? Maybe if I had some support, Laser, which is a dumb name. But the thing,
I'm definitely leaving you on that rooftop.
yeah, exactly. Oh god, I forgot about that. But yeah, that's the thing though. Like, I was really disappointed just because, like, you had all these new characters, right? I can understand that. You had all the new characters coming in to save the world from, the pesky Soviet Union, Saturday morning cartoon. Okay, I'm all game. But then they brought back two reoccurring characters from the Black Ops series. Almost
Three?
as a... Three?
Hudson as well.
Oh,
If
Hudson,
you're
of
thinking
course.
of
Yeah.
Mason Woods, really.
Actually, the first person I thought of was the president in that game, and I was like, he wasn't in yeah, that was Kennedy. How dare you? Oh god, yeah. So yeah, you're right. It's Hudson, Mason, and Woods, and all three of them. That's what disappointed me the most, I have to say, because we know those characters, and they kind of made references to the previous games. Like, there's a kind of throwaway line from Woods when he's talking about Fidel Castro and, like, one of the first missions in Black Ops in the first game, where you have to, like, assassinate him. And yeah, there was just, like, that whole back and forth that you kind of referring. I liked those bits. But I felt as if almost they were like third wheeling the game. It's like they were there as if, oh, remember us, we're here because it can't be a Black Ops game without us. Well, it can be. That's called Black Ops 3. I mean, even Black Ops 4 has them. Jesus.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I know, but I know it's that like brand recognition and all of that.
Does this not make you a bit of a hypocrite, though, Fraser?
How
Because
so?
didn't distinctly you say one of the big problems of Black Ops 3 is that it wasn't tied into anything, but
That
now
is
you're saying
true,
because they
but
brought characters back, it's too much.
It's not even that. It's like they gave them nothing to do. Almost like
That's a fair point.
You do
You're
play,
totally right.
Like you do play as them as in like side missions, but beyond
Yeah.
that they don't do anything. And again, like I'll kind of wait to like go more in depth about like the ending. But even at the ending, they don't really do it. They're just there. They might as well be like, in the very first games you get like random NPCs like Private Thompson or Private Zakhaev or whatever. Yeah, I'm plucking like actual characters from the game, but you know what I mean. It's like,
well, he's in this game as well.
yeah,
so,
exactly. I did like that though. I will say that. I did like the fact
Shared universe.
I was really surprised at that. Like, actually, I don't think anyone else was too impressed, but I was just like, oh, no way! Like, I couldn't believe they were linking those two games together. I was really surprised at that, but I thought, okay, that's pretty clever.
This is like Earth 2 Zakhaev. We're in like different multi-dimensions and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's true. But yeah, you know what? I've put it off for long enough. Let's dive into the ending of Cold War. And again, spoilers. If you don't want it spoiled, feel free to mute. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go for it. So should we explain like the two types of endings you can get? Technically, there's three, but
Yeah, well, so the first thing is there's another twist, there's another reveal, and basically it's revealed that the character that you've kind of customized, Belle, who you've kind of like been playing as for most of the game. It turns out that they are, or they were, sorry, like high-ranking member of that, very close to that guy Perseus, who's the kind of main antagonist of the game, and in the very first level, like. I like one of the character like Woods, Mason, and Adler are chasing, shoots some people, and it turns out that the character you're playing, Belle, is one of them. And then they were taken by the CIA and basically brainwashed into thinking they were somebody else who'd like had a shared history with Adler and everything. And the Adler and his team were trying to unlock your memories so that you could find out where Perseus is. So that's the first reveal. Yeah. And then once you find that out and everything, you then get a choice. You can either like kind of help your new allies to stop Perseus, and like Perseus wants to basically detonate all these nuclear bombs underneath all these like European cities to discredit the USA. So you can either help to stop Perseus's plan, or else you can like turn against your new allies and basically lure them into a trap. In which either case you can either then tell Perseus like about the trap, and all your new allies will die, or else you can just lure them there and then I think you get killed, and but your allies survive, but all the bombs get detonated. So that's kind of have I missed anything out there? It's sort of like the rough.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like either you be very petty, which is what I did, thanks to the chat at the time of that stream, or you save the world, which I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a big fan of the ending. No, I didn't think it was bad. I just felt as if it was a bit. I mean, Call of Duty's no stranger to like controversial topics or anything. It's not at all. It's very, it sometimes leans into it, I think, and for good reason. I think it's because, the more scandalous it can be, the more sales and everything. So, like, I mean, people will start talking about it, so that's probably what they're kind of looking for. Yeah. But for this, it just felt very underwhelming for the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think... Sorry, no, I was just going to say, it's the fact that... I mean, don't get me wrong, like, props to them for actually going all out and being like, oh, look at the lengths that America went to, to try and stop these bombs going off. Like, the whole idea of, like, stripping someone of their identity and planting a new one in. I mean, it does. It feels like quite a betrayal of, like, the game saying, oh, you can create your new character and you can be, like, this or that. And then it's like, oh, well, actually, you're not. You're just going to get shot.
I think, I think that's the problem. I think for me, one of the big problems is that only one of those endings is really, like, canon. Like, there's no, like... at least with Black Ops 2, like, as much as I'm not a fan of the story, at least, like, all of those endings, I think, kind of make, like, it's not like one is... I mean, maybe one is the definitive ending, but, like, it feels like all of them could logically happen. There's only one ending that can logically happen here. Like, okay, I know, like, the history's a bit skewed, but this is still general history, right? Okay. As far as I'm aware, like, I've not read in any textbooks where, like, all the European capitals suddenly get exploded by nuclear bombs. So, like, that, and unless they're going in a completely different direction, but it doesn't seem to be, since it's still tied into the series, and nobody makes reference to this at all. Nobody mentions, that all the European capitals were exploded by American nuclear bombs. So it has to be that, like, ending where you go to, like, stop them has to be the one canon ending. So it's a bit like, kind of what the other ones, like, I don't know, like deleted scenes. Like, it's I don't know. For me, it doesn't. It feels like they're kind of like sideshows. And I think sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, it just reminds me of, I don't know if you played like Silent Hill 2.
Oh yeah.
Or like seen the endings for them, but there's like one ending for that it's clearly non-canon, but it's like one where you go into this room and it's a dog that's operating all the machinery, and it's just the main character turns
tormenting you.
He's just like, "How was you the entire time?" And it like breaks down as a dog like waddles up to him, and that's almost what it feels like here. It's something that's kind of so over the top and ridiculous that I can't believe I'm comparing like a dog controlling Silent Hill to
well, it might as well be. It might as well be for all like the nuclear bombs of like detonate all across Europe. It feels about as ridiculous, like, in one go. I think as well, like, I think part of the problem is as well the mind control element. It's been done, like, and I kind of like the way they did it, but maybe it would have had more impact if that hadn't been like, the story of Black Ops 1. Yeah. But I think as well, like, on a personal level, I think what bugs me about the end of Cold War is that, like, as I said, I really enjoyed being able to customize kind of your character and stuff. And I kind of, it sounds a bit silly, but I really got into kind of role playing as that character. And I'd like built this like rogue MI6 agent, and I kind of had like given them the perks that I thought, like, I was trying to think, well, if I was in the situation, what tendencies would I show, and like what way? So I'd given him like the one of being like paranoid and the one of being a lone wolf. And I was like, I reckon if I was in that situation, that's where my like brain would go to like the logic.
Oh yeah,
totally. So I kind of like was role playing to an extent. Again, it's very surface level, it's not deep or anything, but I kind of really got into role playing like that. And then to find out that it is just like oh no, that's not you. It's just this is who you are. It's like I felt disappointing to me. I was a bit like, it kind of gutted me a bit. I think that's really what kind of annoys me about the ending a bit.
No, I totally agree with you. It does. It seemed. I mean, I suppose it kind of ties into the themes. Like, I'm not trying to give the game credit, but I suppose it does tie into the theme of you thinking that you're someone else. A bit like the main character thinking they're someone else. They're this character.
Yeah,
You're building this persona, this kind of lore around them, and then all of a sudden you're getting that stripped away from you. Which I
yeah.
will admit is effective in a way, because I was just such a petty bitch towards. I was just like, oh no, you're getting betrayed. And I was like, chat, back me up, and they're like, yeah, we agree.
I think this is the way forward.
But yeah, it was. It is. It does well in that. I will admit, it does well in like gutting you in a way, both like with your character
Yeah.
and everything. You're like, how could this happen? But I don't know. It seems. I mean, even the actual ending is really depressing because you stop the nukes, happy ending, everyone's happy, and then they want to tie up loose ends. So it's like they cut to like a soprano blackout where both of the main character and I want to say his handler draw a gun, and then it cuts to black and you just hear the gunshot. And that's it. Like, you don't find out who shot who and everything, which is fair enough, I suppose, if they're leaving it open to
Yeah.
like another thing. But it felt quite underwhelming, especially for a game that, personally for me, I mean, it's been like 8 to 10 years since the last good Call of Duty game, or sorry, the last good Black Ops game.
Yeah. Well,
Compare,
for you, well.
yeah, like 8 to 10 years. So I'll get 8 years if you think Black Ops 2 is good, or
Yeah,
10 years if
respectively.
you think Black Ops 1 is. Black Ops 3, I'm sorry, I'm never gonna admit it's a good game. As I said, fun to play, but no, we're we're not. I was gonna say, like, yeah, I do agree with you. I think there are definitely elements in it that are really good. Like, as you said, walking around the KGB headquarters. I mean, that was good, but at the same time, it reminds me of the way like other franchises like Battlefield were going. Like for I can't even remember which one. I think it's Battlefield 1 that did it. I never played 5, but in the
Yeah.
sense that they were trying to give you other things to do in the game
Yeah.
other than running around and shooting. And
Yeah.
it's really jarring because you're so used to like running and gunning in all these games, and it's good to have like different gameplay elements. But I feel as if with this kind of story, sorry, like one more thing, I actually forgot about this before like we kind of wrap up. The one thing that I actually going back to the mind control thing, the one thing that I never thought of until someone brought it up in a comment, but I never actually realised, like, see Mason throughout the entire game. Initially, I was wondering if this was like a soft reboot or something, until you speak to Woods and Mason, and they're talking about their past adventures in Cuba and things like that. So it's clear the past games are linked to this game. So why is Mason so happy that his government's like brainwashing someone when he went through like hell on earth? Like, there was no point in that game, there was no kind of clues or hints that he had any objection towards it.
Do they know though? That's the one thing. Are they aware?
Oh, that's
Like I know Hudson's aware.
Hudson's definitely aware,
Maybe they are. Like I can't remember. Like I can't remember if there's a moment where Mason Woods actually know. So the only thing I'll say in defense, I think you're right. Like it's an important point. Like
yeah,
if they do know, but if my only defense I'll say is perhaps they don't know.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, if they don't know, then that's like fine. But if they do know, then it seems like a massive plot hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope someone was fired for that blunder. Nah, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. But I think it's definitely one that could have been expanded on. It would be interesting. It's made me curious to see where they're going to take Call of Duty from now on.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, it's definitely not one of my favourites of the Black Ops series. I would probably say it's the third best, personally.
Fair enough.
But hey, don't get me wrong, it's a game that looks gorgeous and everything, but I am interested to see where they take the series from now on.
Oh yeah.
It will be really interesting. So yeah, sorry, just before like we kind of wrap up to the end, is there any closing thoughts? Like about Cold War?
Like yeah, like it's probably my second favorite. I'd say after the original Black Ops, it's my second favorite of the series. But like yeah, like I don't think it's a perfect game. think you've outlined a lot of kind of issues with it and stuff. But I gotta be honest, I really enjoyed the campaign, even like the ending aside. Like I really enjoyed playing it, and it has felt like a bit of a renaissance of my interest in Call of Duty again. Because this is for another time as well.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed last year's Modern Warfare as well.
Yeah.
So I feel a bit more like I'm kind of getting back into the series again. So I think in that way, it's making me more intrigued about the series to see where.
Yeah. Can't wait till we do our Modern Warfare podcast episode.
It'll be an interesting one.
That will be, actually. That will be a very interesting one. Yeah, before like we wrap up and we go to the chat for any like further questions and comments, Adam, you said, and I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm like, Adam,
Oh no!
did you not say?
What did I say again?
As I get my paper out and I'm like, on December 2nd, 2020.
I'm in court.
Yeah, you have the court of Call of Duty. Yeah, you said that you had some questions.
Yeah, so I've got 10 quick fire questions here. So this is just like gut reaction. Most are like yes or no, or like kind of one word answers. So if you're good for that,
yes,
just about the kind of series and Black Ops series in general. So we'll start then. Without further ado, we'll go into round one, which I've titled "Personal Reminiscences."
Ooh.
So first question: best character in the Black Ops series?
Woods.
Fair enough. I also said Woods as well.
Yeah.
I think Woods is the best.
Best
level. Oh, sorry. Do you want to say anything about it?
No. I was just actually going to say, like, quickly, did you see the thing? So I didn't realise that the voice actor who plays him in the first game didn't return for Cold War.
Oh, is it not the same one?
Apparently not, because the guy who, if it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's like a different guy. And the only reason I know is because someone like paid him. He's on that Cameo site.
Oh, yeah?
And someone paid him to talk about there's a line which completely went over my head where you're like sneaking through a base and Mason says to Woods, "Oh, you need to be quiet." And he turns around and he says something like, "I'm an onion, Mason." And the guy like was just ripping into it saying, "What the hell? Like my Woods would never say, 'I'm an onion. I've got layers.'" I was like, what is this weird Call of Shrek game we're going into? Oh, really? But yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No, it's I didn't actually realise that the guy does a very good job of actually emulating the first guy's voice.
Oh, totally.
All right, so we were in agreement there, right? So question number 2: best level series, or favourite level.
Like for the entire Black
Yeah,
Ops
is there like a level that you stood out from like all the games that you just thought, yeah?
I would say it's a toss-up between Vorkuta or I can't remember the specific name, but it's the one with the hazmat suit.
Oh yeah, another one. I think it's called like Rebirth or something.
Rebirth, that's it. Or is it like Rebirth Part 2? No, it is Rebirth, you're right, because there's like two parts to that level.
There's two parts to the level, yeah.
Because there's a Mason part and then there's like the one after where you have to do like I really like it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you get like all the helicopter scenes which are cool, but I just thought that was like quite a nice twist.
Yeah. No, they're two really good levels. Like Vorkuta's a great level. I also went with the original Black Ops. I went for the one Victor Charlie, which is the one where like I think it's like the third Vietnam level where your helicopter crashes and it ends with you crawling through the tunnels and everything, which is just like such a standout moment for me, and I really really enjoyed that part. So I went with that level.
Okay, that's a good shout.
Third one. What's your favorite memory of playing the Black Ops? Anything from the Black Ops series that you like? That's the memory that I like really treasure.
That is a good question, actually. I suppose the zombie mode, really. Like, when I got Black Ops, it was one of the first games where all of my friends started playing it at the same time.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of good memories with the multiplayer and doing, like, the dolphin dive and everything. So sorry, just to explain, like, quickly. It's when you're running and then you have to press a button, but instead of crouching, you can basically leap through the air. And it used to be really annoying for people. In fact, I'll tell you a good memory. So, you know how, and it's not the same nowadays, but like back in the day, they used to show you like the final kill in multiplayer. There was one time I remember, there's a perk you can get called, I can't even remember, it's like Second Chance or something.
Last Chance or something.
Last Chance, that's it, Last Chance. And it's basically you get downed, but you've only got a pistol. So I remember I was in this hotel level and someone shot me and I fell through. It was behind this balcony and I fell under. So I just started firing blindly into the wall that was in front of me. And for some reason I got the guy. There's no like
Nice.
video evidence of this because it was like
Oh,
back in the Xbox 360 days, but yeah, I just shot the guy constantly and I got him, and that was the final kill on camera. And I
nice.
have to admit, like, I was sitting there very awkwardly because I kept thinking to myself, oh my god, there's someone like halfway across the country screaming his head off, going, I can't believe that! You see him! You see him! I was just like, yeah, mute everyone, exit the
You
lobby.
ruined
Yeah,
somebody's day.
I ruined someone's day.
And
Probably,
that's honestly a best memory to have in a Call of Duty
to
game.
be fair, it was probably a child.
They probably had it coming.
Probably. But what would you say? Favourite?
For me, it's the you mentioned zombies before. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Ascension zombies level,
Oh,
which
yeah.
we've played on, which you can see us on stream. I played that
Oh, yeah.
quite a few months ago now, but me, you, and Stephen played it, and I don't know if Stephen's in the chat or not, or listening along. Like, but me and him have played a lot of that. Like, I played it with flatmates.
Yeah.
I obviously played it with all of you on stream and everything. So that one for me always stands out. It's just had so much fun on that
Oh,
level.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So number 4, most disappointing moment of the series.
Black Ops 3.
Fair enough.
That is
Fair
just.
enough.
That is just. I'm just gonna leave it there. Black Ops 3.
Fair enough.
I mean
Fair
that and the strike force missions.
Yeah.
I will admit,
Yeah.
like I expected more to come out of that. I did.
Yeah.
I expected more to come out of those, but it was literally just a throwaway line of whether or not, as you said, whether it lights up or not on a board.
The amount of pain that you had to go through to get to that like throwaway line. Yep. Strike Force missions for
Yeah.
me. Also, I said no campaign being in Black Ops 4 was
Oh, that too.
disappointment.
Yeah.
But Strike Force missions is the obvious answer.
Yeah.
No. And then final question in this round: standout moment. So, is there a moment? No, it doesn't have to be like a favorite moment, but is there a moment that you're just like that just sticks with me, like for good or for bad or whatever?
I'm gonna sound so biased, but definitely the Reznov moment. Like in terms of the first one, the Reznov moment.
Yeah.
For the second one, I have to admit the second one probably the gore, which is gonna sound really weird, but it was so like I was so used at the time to seeing like all the graphic messages saying there's going to be graphic violence, and you're like, okay, right, okay, video game violence. But the second game was so like bloody. Like at the very beginning, the first level just shows you a guy burning to death, and you're like, Jesus.
Oh yeah, that's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, it's like between that and there's a level where you take control of the main villain, and initially they give you a shotgun, and you're supposed to fight your way to find your sister, and you're like, oh great, okay, we're gonna just shoot our way up, but all of a sudden the screen just tints red, and he drops the shotgun, brings out a machete, and starts hacking everyone to get to his back to his house, and it's like, what? Jesus, and it's just like so shocking. And 3, yeah, the less said about 3 the better. For Cold War, I would definitely say the Zakhaev moment
Fair enough.
when it was in that, because I was just really surprised at the linking the two worlds together. But yeah, sorry, that's me done.
No, actually, fair enough. I'm going to pick that my stand-up moment is going to come from the one game that you didn't have anything for. It's Black Ops 3
Really?
being delimbed by that robot.
Oh,
always
okay.
remained me as being the most horrifying moment, the most
Okay, I'll
horrifying
give you that. Yeah.
first-person experiences in a video game I've ever had. And I think I didn't want to get in because you were in full flow Black Ops 3 discussion. I think you're a bit. I think I prefer the story a bit more to you, but like I don't want. It's not like my favorite either, but that being delimbed by that robot is I think will always remain.
I'll give you that. No, I'll give you that. I completely I know I mentioned it earlier, but I completely like skipped over it because I was just so mad. But yeah, that is definitely the moment I felt most uncomfortable with a Call of Duty game. Like,
yeah, it is.
I mean, the first game has its violent moments. The second game ramps it up, and the third one just with that one scene. Like, I think everything else is more or less.
I think there's a couple bits, but there's nothing that like visceral as that.
No, it's just you have to watch helplessly as this robot just de-limbs you. It's horrible. I don't know. I feel as if that's
gonna stick with me.
Yeah, I feel as if it's just the game that went too far.
Perhaps you might have a fair point. Point. Nonetheless, a standout moment, I think.
Definitely.
Okay, so that was good. So just our second and final round, which I've titled "If We Ruled the World." Brackets perish the thought. So question 1. So follow me here, right? Okay. So you're in a hot air balloon.
Right.
So you've gone out for a ride in a hot air balloon. and you've taken with you all the games in the Modern Warfare series and all the games in the Black Ops series. As you're going along on your hot air balloon, it starts to descend rapidly. You're going to have to throw one of the game series out to stay in the air. Which of the game series do you chuck? Which one do you keep? Black Ops or Modern Warfare?
Is it all the Modern Warfare?
It's all the Modern Warfares and all the Black Ops. So they're all bundled together.
Oh.
Can't separate them out. You've got to chuck one or the other.
Oh, God, this is the worst choice ever. I don't know if I would go for the Black Ops series. Because I would say, no. Oh, no, that is a hard one. Because on the one hand, I'm thinking Black Ops is definitely the best. It's one of my favourites. But I don't know if it's worth it for the other ones.
You have to keep Black Ops 3.
Whereas at least Modern Warfare, like, for all the jankiness and things in the early days, at least it kept consistently okay. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I would probably have to say Black Ops. And I'm not saying that...
You're chucking it? You're throwing it out?
Yeah, I'm not saying anything like... I'm not saying, like, Black Ops is, like, the worst game. I'm just saying, like, its predecessors are.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy them as much, so... Sorry, Black Ops. It was fun.
You're out of the balloon. I mean, it's a tough choice, but I would do the same as you.
Yeah.
I'd keep Modern Warfare and throw the Black Ops series out. I think it's a better... Modern Warfare is a more consistent series.
Yeah, I mean...
Overall.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Which is something we'll discuss.
Point. We'll certainly get around to that one. Yeah. All right, question 2.
Okay.
Right, so you're in charge of designing the next Black Ops game, or next. I'll just say next Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
But it comes, so the Activision executives come round to you and they say, "Look, we're pressed for time. You're going to have to scrap one of the 3 parts of the game. Mm-hmm. What do you scrap? Do you scrap the campaign, the multiplayer, or zombies? Which one are you axing?"
I suppose it would have to be the, like, in a business sense, like, if it was personal, maybe the multiplayer, because I feel as if, like, nowadays there's so much multiplayer that they can build
Fair
on
enough.
instead. Like, because I mean, you know my rants about the, like, updates for Call of Duty, but
that's true. It would save a lot of those.
Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of scope that they can develop on those games rather than sitting with the same game, or like a new one, because it feels as if, like, every time you buy a new Call of Duty game, it's like your progress from the last one is wiped, except for Warzone, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. But yeah, I would have to go for multiplayer, but if I was a shrewd businessman, you know, with the if I was a shrewd businessman, I could.
I don't know why I'm laughing at that. Like, you probably could be a shrewd businessman. I'm not mock. I don't mean to mock. It's not like I'm trying to mock you. I don't know why I started laughing at that.
Businessman.
That's a shrewd businessman. Oh, the laughs we have.
You're not getting the check for this one.
Oh no.
If it was a business sense, and I can see why they would cut out the campaign. Yeah, personally, it would be the multiplayer, because I know at least you could have fun with the zombies.
Yeah.
But if it was a business sense, then definitely the campaign.
Fair enough. Well, I would cut the zombies. Just because again, I'm going to be very personal here. I want there to be a campaign, and I think. I don't know. I probably prefer them. I love the old zombies, but I don't know. I feel recent it's maybe gone a little up its own ass. It's a little bit not as good now. So I feel I would probably cut the zombies.
You know, I can understand that, because, like, I totally agree with you. I do think it's kind of gone over the top. Like, I prefer the simple zombies and World at War, and even to an extent the first Black Ops, but I feel as if anything after that is like, oh, you've got a perk and you've got crazy wacky characters, and it's like, I just want to shoot zombies. can I not shoot zombies, please?
I know, it's just simple, but no, they've got a bit too complicated.
Is it too late to change my answer?
No, you can change it. You can change it back.
No, it's just, initially I was just thinking of because I was thinking of the co-op side as well, because the amount of times I've had so much fun, like in multiplayer or, you know, in zombie mode. But if it was a choice between, like, only multiplayer or zombies, definitely multiplayer I would keep. But if it's between the 3, that's definitely like a harder call. But no, I totally agree with you in the zombies, which is something we can definitely talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it more.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. All right, question 3.
Okay.
Should the Black Ops series be continued, rebooted, or ended?
I would say rebooted or ended.
Fair enough.
which I think technically they're rebooting it. It's like a soft reboot, it seems. It's similar
It's
to
like the
what they're
Modern
doing with
Warfare kind
Modern
of
Warfare.
thing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. I feel as if it needs something to kind of shake it up, but I feel it's kind of hard when they're shackled by the past games. But at the same time, now they're getting closed in because they have to link it to Modern Warfare, which is
Yeah.
going to be really interesting. I don't know. I would definitely say reboot if it
Fair
had
enough.
to keep going, but it's too popular of a household name to like outright can.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What
I
about
was kind of tempted to say continued.
really?
Because I don't know, I feel like there's still some scope, and it depends where they go with it. So
Yeah,
you know what, I'm gonna say continued because I want to see where the next one goes,
yeah,
and then maybe depending on the next one, I might change my answer to say
yeah.
ended, or like I don't know. I'm not sure about it being rebooted. I almost kind of think like just maybe try something new, like
Do you know?
time, but probably wouldn't.
Yeah, do you know? I mentioned it like at the start of the podcast, but that's almost what it feels like. Like, remember how I said that Infinity Ward went from World War Two games and they just jumped right to
Yeah,
modern shooters, whereas I feel as if in like from World at War to Black Ops it was kind of a soft progression of like historical events. So from the end of the Second World War going into the Cold War, even though they started like late in the 60s, but still
yeah,
it was like that kind of natural progression. But then in the second game they went from natural progression in the Cold War to oh, we're in the future now. And then 3 and 4 just kept jumping and jumping and jumping further ahead because that was the trend at
yeah,
the time. And I know they've kind of dialed it back now, so I kind of hope if they do continue it, they keep it kind of on the level, if you know what I mean. They keep it
yeah,
I'm not saying like they should keep it like year by year kind of thing, but keep it in a natural progression. Like go for the 90s or go for early
yeah,
2000s or whatever. Don't just jump right into you know don't just jump right into the future and be like, oh,
yeah.
hope for the best, because it's personally I don't think that's how it works, but or I don't think it will work. But then again, I'm not I'm not paid the big bucks, you know.
I know. Unfortunately, despite the title of the segment, we don't rule the world.
Sadly,
We
yeah,
don't get to make
sadly.
these calls. All right, penultimate question here, and I think you've kind of already mentioned
Yeah.
like your answer maybe to this one, but I was going to throw in another moral dilemma here.
Mhm.
So you've gone out on you're on a pleasure cruise,
Okay.
and
Like
decided to take all the games. You have exactly decided to take all the games in the Black Ops series with you.
Nice.
However, at some point during your pleasure cruise, the ship begins to sink. You've only got time to save 2 games in the Black Ops series. Which 2 do you take?
1 and 2.
Fair enough. I remember you saying no. Yeah,
That and it's a very lonely cruise if all I'm taking with me is the
I know you
Black
keep
Ops.
taking it.
Not even an Xbox, just the disc.
No, you've just got the games with you, just to get them some fresh air and to let them see the world.
It's like, my God, it's like putting them to sea.
Sending them off. No, I said like for me it's Black Ops 1 and Cold War.
Oh,
That's
right,
what I would
right.
save. But yeah. All right, so that takes us to our final question,
Let's go.
which actually Green Shields sent in a question. I'd also come up with a kind of similar question, so I'm going to
Yeah.
amalgamate the two of them. So thank you, Green Shields. Great minds
Yeah,
think
thank
alike,
you.
as they always say. So Green Shields is asking us what our favorite setting for kind of Call of Duty games in general was, and so putting that into the kind of Black Ops series specifically, what setting would you want the next Black Ops game to be in? The past, the present, or the future?
Past, definitely. Like, I know that was like
Very
a
past.
very... I don't know, I feel as if Modern Warfare has got the present covered. It's definitely kind of exploring that, and I mean, it's interesting, but I feel as if for modern, even like Modern Warfare, I feel as if they kind of have the danger that they're going to stray too much into, oh, did you know
Yeah.
this technology existed? And you're like, yeah, I know, but I'm playing Modern Warfare. I'm not playing Modern Warfare with a hint of prototype weapons that's going to come out. And I know,
Yeah.
I know Black Ops does that as well. Black Ops is very infamous for that. But at the same time, I would say the past, like especially for the Cold War, they have explored like a good, number of events, like obviously Vietnam, Panama, the Bay of Pigs invasion, things like that. But I mean, there's so much more in the Cold War that they could explore. I feel as if as well they missed their chances with a lot of them. with a lot of like
Yeah.
moments in history. Like even that bit in Berlin, in East Berlin, where you sneak through in Cold War. It seemed underutilized. I feel as if they could have put more into that.
Yeah.
It felt more as if it could have been anywhere. Honestly,
That's maybe a fair
like
point. It didn't really feel like you were actually like, didn't really feel like kind of communist East Berlin.
yeah, like you could sneak around the guards, but almost felt it didn't feel as if you were in East Berlin. It felt more like, oh, there's guards here. They could have easily been replaced by like the Soviets themselves, or
Yeah.
or it could have been a Soviet base, which is what they did in like the level after, or a couple of levels
Oh yeah,
after.
yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's if they kind of made it a bit different, or there was more variety in a way, which I know is ironic because they do have variety in the game.
Yeah.
But I feel as if they have time to expand on it, then definitely.
Yeah.
It's, as I said, it's a game that I'm kind of lukewarm towards, but I don't think that's a
Fair
bad
enough.
thing. I think it's an interesting start to what this reboot could be about,
Yeah.
which I'm excited to see where they go with it. I have to say,
No, that's fair. It's a good point. Like it does seem like there's potential there. Just
yeah,
whether they squander it or utilize it. And for me, I'm the same as you. Past. I love history.
yeah,
Honestly, that's my favorite. The Call of Duty games are the history ones. So put it historical, and I'm all in. I'll definitely buy it. You've got my
No,
order.
I'm
Locked.
the same. No, no history all the way. Yeah, yeah. You're asking the wrong people here.
No, no, exactly. No shrewd business to say. Well, certainly not from me. No shrewd business. Just give me what I want.
Oh. Anything to do with history. I mean,
Yeah.
we've still got the Korean War to
That's
look
true. That's
into.
still that's
Yeah,
a very untapped
yeah,
historical event. If you're looking for something,
yeah,
Activision, give us a call.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we're always free. My number is 12345.
Just get in the chat, get in the stream chat, and we'll,
Yeah,
we'll find a way
exactly.
to
Yeah,
from there.
yeah. Let's start copying them in to like random tweets.
Bombard them.
Hashtag Satsunami suggestions. Come on, guys, we can do this.
Hashtag let Satsunami talk.
Yeah. Why are you censoring me? What is this, a Black Ops game?
Why?
Hey. And
Oh,
on that note, speaking of censorship, we should probably wrap up there. Oh dear. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Is there anything else you have, Adam?
No, just
Yeah,
thanks for listening. Thanks for participating, and yeah, thanks again for having me on.
yeah,
I'd say
always.
I really enjoy it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
As always, stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated.